Good morning. Whether you're here with us in person or joining us online, it is good to be with you all this morning. It's good for all of us to be together. As we gather together this morning, let me share with you the words attributed to the 5th century Indian poet Kalidasa. Look to this day, for it is life, the very life of life. In its brief courses lie all the verities and realities of your existence, the bliss of growth, the glory of action, the splendor of beauty. For yesterday is but a dream, and tomorrow is only a vision. But today, well lived, makes every yesterday a dream of happiness, and every tomorrow a vision of hope. Look well, therefore, to this day. Come, my friends, with our hearts open to the challenges and possibilities that this new day, that this new week bring, with our hearts open to all that inspires, sustains, redeems, and transforms us. Let us worship together. The flaming chalice is the symbol of the Unitarian Universalist tradition, the liberal religious tradition to which this congregation belongs. I invite those of you with us in person to stand as you are able for our chalice lighting. If you have a chalice at home, I invite you to light it with us at this time. As we kindle this flame, we recommit ourselves to nurturing the spirits of one another and the common good of the world we share. May the light of this flame be welcoming to all who seek a liberal religious home. For those of you already standing, I invite you to remain standing for our opening hymn. Our opening hymn this morning is I Am Finding My Way Back to Now. This is a new hymn for us, and Jean Marie is going to teach us.
Good morning. So actually, you may have a seat for this, because you'll listen the first couple of times and then can sing it. It's a melody that repeats over and over again, and as we learn it in subsequent Sundays, we'll layer on other things. But today we're going to get really familiar with the melody, and then Sophie is going to add one of the counter melodies. If you feel like you want to do some harmony and experiment with that, you are certainly free to do so. Just listen the first couple of times and then come in as you feel ready. I am finding my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now. I am finding my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now. Join as you feel ready. I am finding my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now. I am finding my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now. I am finding my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now. Keep going with that. I am finding my way. I'm finding my way. I'm finding my way back to now. I am finding my way. I'm finding my way. I'm finding my way back to now. Last time, I am finding my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now.
My name is Wendy Gates Corbett, and I'm glad to serve as part of your worship team this morning. Whether you are visiting us for the first time this morning or a longtime member, I offer you a special welcome. Here at the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Raleigh, we are intentionally inclusive, liberally religious, and actively serving the common good of our shared world. Whoever you are and wherever you are on your journey, you are welcome here. If you are visiting us for the first time in person, I invite you to stop by our welcome stand in the foyer if you haven't already done so. You can create a name tag and fill out our visitor form and pick up one of the pamphlets to learn more about UUFR and Unitarian Universalism. If you are visiting us online, I invite you to fill out our visitor form at uufr.org/visitor form. If you do this, you'll start receiving the weekly newsletter we call The Chalice. This morning, Will Smith, one of our lay ministers, will be available in the front right part of the sanctuary after the service to speak with anyone who might be experiencing stuff in their lives and would like to talk with someone. I hope all of you will read through the chalice you received by email on Friday about everything that's happening here at UUFR. You might have noticed that the chalice is much shorter these days with less scrolling to have to do because we've moved much of the upcoming events, information about upcoming events, to the upcoming events section of our website. So I hope you will take a look at that section of the website as well on a regular basis. Our in-person social hour this morning will be held downstairs in Founders Hall, right downstairs. Linda Watson's granddaughter will be selling yummy lemonade during our social hour to benefit Habitat for Humanity. I hope many of you will join me in buying a glass. I now invite you to meet and greet your neighbor. I always love this part of the service. I always love this part of the service because there's such a buzz of positive energy and people happy to speak with one another. So I'm kind of conflicted about drawing it to a close, but it can continue after the service. But now we enter a time of sharing our joys and sorrows. This is the time when we in our community acknowledge some of the joys and sorrows amidst us. We do this because we believe that a joy that is shared is a joy made greater, and a sorrow shared is made easier to bear. Anyone is invited to fill out our joys and sorrows form on the front page of our website or in the chalice by midnight on Saturday. Anyone may also light a candle before the service, and if they wish, fill out one of our cards by hand so their joy or sorrow can be shared with the congregation. This morning I share that a memorial service for a longtime UUFR member, John Manifold, will be held on Saturday, August 17th at 11 a.m. A reception will follow the service. I ask that we also hold Becky Elliott, her sister-in-law, Cheryl Elliott, in our thoughts and prayers as she faces MDS cancer. Also hold Sherry Block and Dan Steen in our thoughts as their dear cat Ruby died on Friday. As we hold these shared joys and sorrows in our hearts and reflect on the joys and sorrows, fears and hopes in our own lives, let's be together in stillness and in silence, opening ourselves to that spirit within us, amidst us. It's called by many names, but known to every human heart. It's that spirit that leads us to deeper, fuller, richer experience of life. After the silence, we will sing hymn number 391, Voice Still and Small. But for now, let's be together in stillness and silence.
Voice still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call, singing. In dark and rain, sorrow and pain, still you remain, singing. Calming my fears, quenching my tears, through all the years, singing.
Everything we do here at UUFR is only possible because of the generous financial support many of us provide. If you would like to make a contribution this morning, we invite you to bring it forward to one of our offering plates. If you would prefer, just raise your hand and an usher will come to you. You may also use one of the options that will appear on your screen. What you offer us now is gratefully received. You can probably tell that Reverend James is away from UUFR this morning. I am delighted to welcome back to UUFR our guest speaker this morning, Reverend Patty Hanneman, who's been a frequent guest speaker with us in the past. Reverend Patty has previously served the Unitarian Universalist movement as a campus minister at Duke University and as the minister of our sibling or cousin congregation in Hillsborough, North Carolina. Her ministry currently includes offering spiritual direction, rites of passage, and helping individuals, families, and congregations through times of transition. She lives in Durham with her partner, Karen Hill. Please help me welcome back Reverend Patty to UUFR.
Thank you, Wendy, for opening our worship so beautifully this morning. And my thanks to our musicians, our tech team, our greeters, our ushers, everyone that helps make our worship services so beautiful. Thank you. And thank all of you for being here this morning. I invite us now to take some deep breaths together as we breathe in and out. We breathe in the wonderful energy of this place and breathe out any thoughts that may be keeping us from being fully present this morning to these words by Ted Loder. And I invite you to accept these words in whatever way feels comfortable for you, either as a prayer or a deep reflection. Spirit of life and love, I made it through another sweet, sour time, and here I am, nibbled, frazzled, puzzled, and in need of what? A chuckle, perhaps. A revolution begun with a belly laugh, or maybe even just to see a smile. Such is my need. And this is my wonder. Are you really as humorless, as grimly serious as I sometimes make you out to be? Or do aardvarks and monkeys, puppies and porpoises and people, perhaps, reveal the comic side of your grace, the playful side of your love? Spirit of laughter and of tears, shake me awake and help me to laugh at myself over my seriousness and my petty preoccupation with success and failure, until my laughter lures me deep to the love in me unused, to the strength in me unspent, to the courage untapped, to the dream unrisked, to the beauty unexpressed, all the way down to the inescapable bottom, to the awareness that I must get on with being who I am as fully as I can, as unflinchingly as I can, and as accurately as I can, which is to say, as gracefully, as powerfully, as faithfully as you have created me to be. Amen, and blessed be. I want to begin my reflections this morning with a personal story. And this story took place a couple of decades ago. I am finding myself the single mother of 2 teenagers. And on this particular morning, it starts out like most typical mornings. My alarm goes off at 4:30, and I start with making that first cup of coffee. I'm a little bit tired because I was up late the night before writing a paper, so I put probably an extra scoop or 2 into the French press, and then I get on my running clothes, take my coffee out to the front steps where I sit and watch the morning begin with a cup of coffee. I run back in and I grab my Walkman. Anybody remember what a Walkman is? Grab my Walkman, go for my run, come back home, wake up my kids, start the breakfast, grab the book bags, load the book bags, ask the kids if there's anything I've forgotten to put in the book bags, think about what I'm putting in my book bag, get the breakfast on the table, take them to school, and on my way home, with my second cup of coffee, I am now thinking through what my day is looking like, my day at work, how I'm going to pick up my son from baseball practice, get my daughter to gymnastics, somehow make dinner in between those 2 things. I get home, I take whatever I need out of the freezer, and I run and get in the shower, and I'm feeling really good about myself. I'm thinking, I've crushed this morning. I have got this. I'm not just coping anymore. I am actually managing this crazy life of mine. And then suddenly, I think I've forgotten something. Something important. What is it? And I look down and realize I am still in my running clothes. In his book called Sabbath, Wayne Muller writes, "All life requires a rhythm of rest. There is a rhythm in our waking activity and the body's need for sleep. There is a rhythm in the way day dissolves into night and night into morning. There is a rhythm as the active growth of spring and summer is quieted by the necessary dormancy of fall and winter. There is a tidal rhythm, a deep internal conversation between the land and the great sea. In our bodies, the heart rests after each life-giving beat, and the lungs rest between the exhale and the inhale. I admit that there have been times in my life when I have lost this essential rhythm. There is an ebb and a flow to our lives that our spirits ask us to pay attention to. Right? I like to think of this essential rhythm that Muller refers to as a flow back and forth between the experience of being and the experience of doing. The yin energy of being, the yang energy of doing. Yin dealing with the importance of our personal story, yang with the importance of personal achievement. Yin with relationships, and yang with power. Yin with being vulnerable, and yang with conquest. And while the ways in which these energies flow back and forth in our lives varies within each individual, we find that yin energy takes dominance during the first quarter of life and the last quarter of life, the youngest among us and the oldest among us. And yang energy becomes more important during our middle years. Both of these energies are important for a balanced life, but throughout history, and I think even especially in our culture today, there is an unhealthy preference for the yang energy of production, of busyness. And so we often place more value on those middle years. Carl Jung was the first to suggest that we live our lives in quarters. There are 4 quarters, he said, to the spiritual life, each one lasting a little over 20 years, and each one requiring different energies, different tools, and a different kind of wisdom. So that in our first 20 plus years, our spiritual work is to take in information, to get a sense of who we are in relation to our tribe, our family, our culture, our generational cohort group, our community, our passions. We begin to create an ego strength that will serve as our container for our personal journey. And we ask questions such as, what makes me significant? How am I going to support myself? And who will I take with me on this journey? And then in the second quarter, we begin a career, we find intimate relationships, we decide where to live. And we continue to refine those first quarter questions and answers. We build some success in creating a lifestyle or a brand. These years are years of a healthy narcissism that drives us toward productivity. And then somewhere in our mid-40s, we enter the third quarter. We've built that container for the first half of our life journey, and now we start looking at whether or not we have been filling that container with the right things. Do we need to do some decluttering? Do we need to take some corrective actions? What aspects of my life right now are most meaningful? That sense of coping or even managing is not seen as being enough anymore. And then in the fourth quarter, the final one, which I now find myself in, we take a step back from public achievement and the power dynamics of the workplace. If we continue to work, those power structures, those power plays will start to seem superfluous, irrelevant. Jungian analyst Connie Zwig calls this shifting from role to soul. And that shift feels pretty spot on to me. It is a time to disidentify from those roles and values that guided us during midlife. The rushing, the multitasking, the duties and yearnings that just seemed so incredibly important just a few years ago. When we consider our need for renewal, which is what I wanted to talk about this morning. This is your theme for this month of June. I find myself wanting to come back to that sense of the flow back and forth between yin and yang energy. What if we were to honor and respect this natural flow? What if we were to think of yin energy as not doing nothing, but actually being steeped in a different kind of energy? You know, for most of our lives, renewing our spirit is going to mean that we set aside time for rest, for yin energy, because our lives are unnaturally skewed toward busyness. So let me return to that story that I began with. In those days, you know, whenever anybody asked me how I was, I would always answer, "Oh, I'm so busy." And this has become kind of a default answer when anybody asks us how we are. We say it to one another with no small amount of pride, as if being exhausted were some sort of trophy. Our ability to withstand stress, a mark of our character. The busier we are, we feel, the more important we are. And we imagine we will seem more important to others too if we tell them how busy we are. There's a story in the Christian scriptures about the man Jesus who, after his baptism, goes out into the wilderness for 40 days to meditate and think about the ministry that he's about to begin. And he is tempted 3 times by Satan. The first thing Satan does is he invites him to turn stones that are lying on the ground into bread so that the hungry can be fed. Seems like a good idea, but Jesus refuses. And then the second temptation is for Jesus to throw himself off the top of the temple so that angels will come and rescue him and people can see how important he is. And still, Jesus refuses. And finally, Satan offers him unlimited power and authority over all the kingdoms on earth if he will only worship Satan. His third refusal. Henry Nouwen, writer and Catholic priest, once said that these 3 temptations of Jesus represent the 3 temptations that feed our busyness. To be useful, to be important, and to be powerful. Now, while all these are important aspects of a successful life, if they are taken to extreme without appropriate constraints of humility, they will block our need for renewal, for that natural flow between yin and yang energy, and they can cause us to unfairly judge others. Useful, important, powerful. You know, there's a lively debate in this country today that laments the tragic decline of ethics and values, not only in public spaces, but private ones as well. Where do those traditionally held values of honesty, courage, and integrity gone, we ask? Where are those fundamental qualities of truth-telling, respect, deliberation, and wisdom? When we think about these qualities, my friends, consider this. None of these are needed for a person to be useful, powerful, or important. What these lost values have in common is that they are human qualities that take time. They require stepping back to gain perspective. They require yin energy, relationship, and receptivity. They have to be practiced and nourished in the soil of time. I think sometimes that the most important thing that we can do is reclaim a sense of peace in our lives that we can reflect back to other people, to renew our spirits on a regular basis so that we don't become brittle and lose these important qualities. You know, when my children were small, each spring we would start a garden and we would plant cantaloupe and tomatoes, onions, and carrots, lettuce, peas, beans. And things would start coming up with abandon, and the kids would get so excited, and then we would have to go out in the garden and start thinning the seedlings. And they always hated that. They hated watching those seedlings getting pulled up out of the ground. And no matter how many times I would explain to them that things need room to grow, it was still hard to do that thinning. And I think that is probably true of our lives as well. We hate letting things go. But what happens when our lives become too crowded is that you end up with a lot of green stuff on the surface to show for your efforts, and your garden may look to others like it's, abundant and lush, but nothing will grow underneath the soil. Nothing is going to bear fruit. Thinning is making space for a deeper life. We plant many seeds, and each one may seem like it hardly takes any space at all, but as each seedling grows, it takes from the other. And sooner or later, when we are reluctant to thin our lives, everything will begin to wither. Think about this the next time you are tempted to tell people that you are so busy. What are you crowding out? What are you not allowing to grow ripe within you? How might you be allowing the drive to be useful, to be important, to be powerful, serve to justify who you are? The idea of Sabbath, of regularly setting aside time for nourishing rest, was designed for those of you who are in your middle years. Those very productive, hectic years. Sabbath implies a willingness to be steeped in yin energy, letting the natural forces of healing astonish you and bring you back to the present moment. It is a reminder of the hidden wholeness of life when we catch a glimpse of how good things are right now. For some of you who find yourselves like me in your fourth quarter, this probably doesn't make any sense to you anymore. And I was frankly surprised that when I moved into my 70s, I didn't struggle so much anymore with those temptations of being powerful, important, or useful. My temptations are different now. But what I am still tempted with often, and I think this is because of our cultural values, is feeling like I need to be busy. What I find these days that most renews my spirit is working on something meaningful, not just being busy, but finding those things that have a lot of meaning for me. So whether it's helping a student, writing a sermon, or chairing a board meeting for a group that I'm passionate about, these activities, even though they may be anxiety-producing or frustrating at the time, will often leave me with a warm glow that brings me joy and renewal. So regardless of where we are in life, looking for that flow between yin and yang energy is what will feel refreshing for you. What makes a fire burn is space between the logs, writes Judy Brown. A breathing space. What does that breathing space look like for you right now? What would be most renewing for you? For me, it is actually being with you this morning and getting a taste of the fruits of my labor from this past week. What most delights you? I encourage you this week to take time for that. May it be so, and blessed be. Our closing hymn this morning is number 354. We laugh, we cry. I invite you to stand in either body or spirit and sing this with me. We're going to sing only the first and last verses this morning.
We sing our song. We kneel
Sylvate. Do not try to save the whole world or do anything grandiose. Instead, create a clearing in the dense forest of your life and wait there patiently until the song that is your life falls into your own cupped hands and you recognize and greet it. Only then will you know how to give yourself to this world so worthy of rescue. Go in peace, my friends.